here we have the ovary, right? The female gonad producing the female gamete, which is the egg or the ovum or the oocyte. Right? All of those are okay for our purposes. So looking at the histology of the ovary, you start off with primary follicles. So these are very immature. Then a number of these will start to develop, right, during the beginning of your cycle. So then they develop into secondary follicles. Okay? And then fewer, right, really only maybe one or two, develop into a tertiary follicle. Another name, there's two other names for tertiary follicles. Sometimes you might see it called mature follicle or Graafian follicle. Right? All of those are fine. Within your mature follicle, you have the oocyte. See that little yellow dot right there? Right? That is the actual oocyte. This blue right here, this is the antrum. So there's fluid here, right, in this antrum. This guy with the hole, right, this has now ovulated. They made this much bigger, right? This is not to scale. That thing would not fit through this tube, right? This is actually this little dot right there, this oocyte. They just made it bigger so that we can see some of the structures in it. So this ovulated oocyte has this corona radiata around it, and this is that layer we were talking about in lecture that the sperm have to dissolve in order to fertilize the egg. Right? So this corona radiata here. So then the fembriae will waft up the ovulated oocyte and kind of catch it. Right? And the cells inside this tube have cilia that will then move the oocyte down the uterine tube to the uterus. So this is the fembriae. Here's the infundibulum. This little enlargement here is the ampulla. And then we can see maybe like a couple, like an isthmus right here. Right there are these kind of like little horns. The uterine part is the end of the uterine tube where it actually enters into the uterus. And because there's no uterus here, I can only assume that this is the uterine part, the end of the tube. If I wanted uterine part, I would have one that was actually attached to a uterus so that you could see how close it was. All right, so that's the uterine tube part. Coming back to our ovary, the cells remaining here in the follicle will then develop into the corpus luteum. And the corpus luteum secretes progesterone, and progesterone is necessary to maintain the uterine wall, aka don't have your period. Right? So as long as you have a corpus luteum producing progesterone, you won't go onto your period. Not until this degrades away, so it's no longer producing progesterone, then you have your period and slough off the endometrium. And that should be it.